And this is the Mercedes-Benz Rangers postgame show on a night where the Rangers passed regulation time for the 23rd time. They pick up a point that they won't mind and a point that might yet matter. Inside our Delta MSG studios, John Giannone and Steve Valiquette. Rangers lose in a shootout to the Buffalo Sabres, 3-2 the final. That's game 81, 1 to go. It's Thursday night against the Toronto Maple Leafs before the playoffs begin. And in your mind, Steve, where does that leave the Rangers from an emotional standpoint, from a preparation standpoint after these 65 plus?
Okay, so this game meant more to Buffalo than it did for the Rangers, and that's something that you can't hide from. Thursday's game against Toronto is going to mean probably nothing for both teams, and I'd imagine that Toronto's going to be able to sit a lot of people. They've been talking a lot about that. In this game, I think that I learned a lot about the Buffalo Sabres for what we're going to see in the future. In fact, I think if Devin Levi would have been on this team this year for longer, this would have been a playoff team. They would have gotten in, even though they give up as much as they do. So next year, they're a lock to get in. The Rangers gave them a good game. If this game meant as much to the Rangers as it did to Buffalo, I think the Rangers would have won the hockey game. I'm just happy that Ryan Lindgren comes back from that scare because you can't turn it off, right? Like, Ryan Lindgren just can't turn it off and not try and block a shot when he's killing a penalty in overtime in game 81. Just like Igor Shesterkin couldn't turn it off in game 81 either. He's all the way on. It's not like Igor's out there saying, I'm going to save something for the postseason on Monday. Mm-hmm. He was awesome. So the specialty teams is still strong. The PK I liked a lot. I'm still happy with that game. Here's the thing I've learned about the Rangers this year. They're in every hockey game. They're in every hockey game. From the time that they turned their season around, December the 5th to now, they've been playing great hockey.
Yeah, and if you wonder why Ryan Lindgren was the Stephen McDonald Extra Effort Award winner for going above and beyond the call of duty, see what he did there in overtime, blocking a shot that hit off the side of his head, leaving straight to the dressing room and coming back on the bench. So does it benefit the Buffalo Sabres? You bet it does. They get a little bit closer because the Islanders lost to Washington, the Panthers lost in overtime to the Leafs, the Canes lost in regulation time to Ottawa. So the Metropolitan Division standings looks like this. Canes have a 1-point lead on the Devils, a 2-point lead on the Rangers. The Devils and Hurricanes have 2 games remaining. Rangers have 1. And in that wild card race, it remains Panthers in the 7th spot, Islanders in the 8th spot, Penguins now with a game in hand in the 9th spot. That's a huge loss for the Islanders. And meanwhile, the Buffalo Sabres still mathematically alive because they have that extra game still to play, 3 games left. Where is this all going to end up? I mean, we know it's going to be done on Thursday, so where does this happen?
Well, I'm still focused on the Rangers. I mean, like, am I incorrect in saying that game doesn't mean as much to them? I don't feel it did, because even if they get closer and they would have gotten the extra point there, they're tied with the Devils. Devils have the tie break, and they still have 2 games to go. So what are your thoughts on that, though? Seriously, like, I don't think I'd rather come through the game safe and be healthy than overextend yourself and reach for it.
I think ultimately it's always going to be that, Steve, but I think if they get the second point tonight and they're even in points with the Devils, even though they don't win the tiebreaker and only a point behind the Hurricanes, then maybe that puts a little bit more emphasis on Thursday for them. I still think the players would like to have home ice, a Game 7 at Madison Square Garden, and if it was still there for the taking, perhaps it would mean more. But I do agree with you. Ultimately, getting everybody through the game healthy is the most important thing.
Isn't playing in Newark like home ice anyway? Put the birthday boy on the spot.
That we might find out in the next couple of weeks. Speaking of getting through the game healthy, the most important part for the Rangers was, after seeing what happened to Ryan Lindgren, to see him back on the bench. We saw him at the beginning of the night begin by accepting the Stephen McDonald Extra Effort Award from Stephen's wife, Patty, and Stephen's son, Connor, and his wife. A wonderful moment for a player richly deserving of that kind of an award. Love how Ryan Lindgren calls that a graze. Right? Graze.
He's such a Dan Girardi.
Yeah.
He's such a Dan Girardi.
Yeah.
Nothing hurts.
You know what? Another guy who was a warrior tonight was Igor Shesterkin, particularly what he did in the overtime, down the stretch and into overtime, where he made all 5 saves on the only 5 shots of overtime, which were all from the Buffalo Sabres, including during a 2-minute power play. If there's a player who looks like he is ready for hockey's second season starting in about a week, it's Igor Shesterkin.
If you could describe goaltending confidence to a layman, you would say how well they are seeing the puck. Igor Shesterkin is seeing the puck really well right now because of his timing. Look, he stands up on this first play because he's not in a hurry to go down. He's able to track and be available east to west on extra movement because he's not going down early. He's able to see the release clean and then be able to battle and hang in there. The save rate here at the end of the second was extraordinary. I loved that save because he had his fingers down in the proper position. And then these tracking ones here, John, this is all movement that we saw him in the pregame show, the clips for his skating that he was doing at practice this morning. All of this knee movement, John, that's it. You know, he's got his head down over his leading knee. I say that often, but it's a big thing. If you have a bad head, do you know what happens? You go this way and you lay on your belly. When you're tracking and you go this way, you lay on your backside, both of which are bad. And Igor is on his knees and he's tracking. I sent that clip to a couple of the goalie coaches in the NHL just to get their opinion on it. They were shocked. They were like, best edges in the league, elite. Yeah. One guy said hovercraft. It looks like that clip was amazing.
Yeah.
And you know, if I'll put that on Twitter tomorrow, as long as I get the rights from MSG Network. But I think that that's something that people need to look at, and for kids to try and emulate. He's such a good example. Henrik, I've told many times how many kids that I coach in this area because of him, and Igor is going to inspire a lot of great athletes in this region to be goalies in the future. I'm certain about that.
And it is a textbook example of how practice makes perfect. Do it in the morning, put it to use in a game, and you make the kind of saves that Igor Shesterkin made on the night. 36 in all as the Rangers lose in a shootout 3-2. The entirety of the Rangers offense tonight was Artemi Panarin, and both in the second period, one on the power play, one at even strength. We're going to take a look at both goals through our film room, powered by CDW and HP. Panarin Panarin shooting more, and that's always a good sign because it opens up the rest of his game.
You know what else is a cool point here too is that because the Rangers on their first power play goal, Panarin's first, he tried them off the rush. That's important because ultimately you want to get into your setup. And it's the 7th goal of the year the Rangers score off the rush. They have 44 goals this year when they're set up. But if you stay with me here and you get through the neutral zone as a group, what happens is when you're pre-scouting the Rangers and you know they may try you off the rush, you will back up and give the offensive blue line a little bit more room. That'll help the Rangers then get into the setup. And right now, because Kreider is picking the stick up of Rasmus Dahlin, that opens up that slot line play and it allows for the east to west. That's just an experienced move for a guy that has 732 games now after tonight in the league. He knows how to play it. Igor makes a play here. He forces this play past the two checkers for Buffalo, and that gets everybody off the rush as well. Trocheck, Tarasenko, Panarin connected. I thought they had a really nice night tonight as far as getting through all three zones together. When the puck gets deep here, it's a seam that really does set up for being able to keep the puck alive, but Trocheck, he blows a wheel here, but he's able to stick with it. He's got a good stick, he pokes it loose. Tarasenko, the best time to make an east to west play is when the other team is not prepared for it because of something like that, of happenstance. Watch this one-timer. He goes across the body of the goalie. That's one, too, where you can look at that and say, how exactly did, like, skills coaches will look at that. That's not easy to do. Typically, the one-timer is coming across the body to go blocker side. He was able to open his hips and make it go far side. That's impressive. And Artie's shooting a lot right now. What is that going to do? That's going to help him as a passer. It's going to help the team open up more seams.
Yes, Panarin entered tonight with 89 points. He now has 91, and with it, he enters some elite Rangers company. Panarin has done it 3 times now, 3 different 90-point seasons. Only 3 Rangers have ever done that. Panarin in the 3 of the last 4 years, Mark Messier in the 90s, Jean Rattel in the 70s. That is it. 91 points on the season for Artemi Panarin. Now 90 points for Mika Zibanejad as well with 1 assist on the night, part of a 3-2 OT loss.